My wife's therapist called me and said, she's ready to tell you. I didn't know she had a therapist. The phone call came while I was at work, staring at spreadsheets that suddenly didn't matter anymore. A woman named Dr. Bellwood asked if I could come to her office at 6. She said my wife Renata had been seeing her for 8 months, and there was something important she needed to share with me in a safe space. 8 months. Renata and I had been married for 12 years. We told each other everything, or so I thought. I drove to the address in a daze, running through every possibility in my head. Was she sick? Was she leaving me? Had something happened that I missed? The office was in a quiet building with soft lighting and plants everywhere. Renata was already sitting on a couch when I walked in. She wouldn't look at me. Dr. Bellwood gestured to the seat beside my wife. Thank you for coming. Renata has been working toward this moment for a long time. I want you to listen without interrupting until she's finished. I nodded, my throat too tight to speak. Renata finally looked up. Her eyes were red like she'd been crying for hours. Do you remember when we first started dating and I told you my parents died in a car accident when I was 16? I nodded slowly. She told me that story on our third date. Said she'd been raised by her grandmother after that. That wasn't true. My whole body went cold. They didn't die. I ran away from home when I was 16 and never went back. I told everyone they were dead because it was easier than explaining the truth. She started crying harder. My father was a monster. He hurt me in ways I still can't say out loud. My mother knew and did nothing. When I finally escaped, I changed my name and invented a new history. I became someone else entirely. I sat there frozen, trying to process what she was saying. The woman I'd loved for over a decade had been carrying this weight alone the entire time. I wanted to tell you so many times, she continued, but I was terrified you'd look at me differently, that you'd see me as broken or damaged. Every year I wanted to tell you, and every year I convinced myself you were better off not knowing. Dr. Bellwood handed her tissues. The reason I started therapy was because my father found me. He showed up at my work 3 months ago. He's dying, and he wants forgiveness. He's been sending letters to our house when you're at work. My hands started shaking. Some stranger had been contacting my wife for months, and I had no idea. Why didn't you tell me? I could have helped. I could have protected you. Because I was ashamed, she whispered. I spent 20 years building a life where that little girl didn't exist anymore. Telling you meant admitting she was still in here. She pressed her hand against her chest. I wasn't protecting you. I was protecting myself. I moved closer and took her hands. They were ice cold. Renata, nothing you just told me changes how I feel about you. You survived something horrible and built an entire life from nothing. That's not weakness. That's the strongest thing I've ever heard. She collapsed into my arms, sobbing. Dr. Bellwood quietly excused herself to give us privacy. We sat there for almost an hour while Renata told me everything. The years of abuse. The night she finally ran. The grandmother story was partially true because an elderly neighbor had taken her in and helped her get documents. That woman had passed away years ago, but Renata still visited her grave every month. I never knew where she went on those days. She showed me the letters from her father. They were manipulative and guilt-ridden, claiming he'd found religion and needed her forgiveness to die in peace. He wanted to meet. He wanted closure. What do you want to do? I asked her. I don't know. Part of me wants to see him one last time just to tell him he didn't destroy me. But another part never wants to see his face again. I held her tighter. Whatever you decide, I'm with you, but you never have to face him alone. 2 weeks later, Renata decided to write him a letter instead of meeting. She didn't offer forgiveness. She told him exactly what he'd done to her and exactly who she'd become despite him. She told him she had a husband who loved her and a life filled with people who actually deserved her presence. She mailed it with shaking hands. He died 3 weeks later. She didn't attend the funeral. On the anniversary of her escape, we planted a tree in our backyard. She named it after herself, her real name, the one she'd abandoned at 16. She said it was time to stop running from who she used to be and start letting both versions of herself exist together. I learned that day that you can know someone for years and still have more to discover. But I also learned that secrets kept out of survival aren't betrayals. They're just wounds waiting to be healed when it's finally safe enough to show them.